This is the Adam Carriker Show.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, 1st and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 8-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carriker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Adam Carriker.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Adam Carriker Show here on 93.7 The Ticket. If you hadn't heard the news, heard round the world yesterday, this is the last day that Jake's going to get to see me. For just an hour, because we're going to 2 hours every day. Well, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days a week, starting on Monday. That's right. The Adam Carriker Show will now be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Grab your lunch. Grab your early lunch. Grab your late lunch. You can always check us out after the show's done as well. But come join us. You know what you're going to get. You're going to hear Husker sports. You're going to hear college football, sports in general. You're going to get unique insight, unbridled honesty, and producer Jake and I are going to have a whole lot of fun in the process. All right, check out all things The Ticket at theticketfm.com, carrikerchronicles.com, also on YouTube for The Ticket, podcast platforms, social media. The 93.7 The Ticket is every frickin' where. Carriker Chronicles is also on YouTube as well. Are you excited? Are you pumped? Are you looking forward, Jake, to Monday, 2 hours a day with yours truly?
Absolutely. I think this show's ready to take off to a whole nother level. We're going to have to, because it's going to be 2 hours. We can't just sit here. So,
well, we could. It'd be terrible television, radio, and podcast. But go ahead.
That's right. But yeah, no, I think it's time. It's been so fun working with you so far. I can't wait to double it up.
It has been a blast. I can't wait to double the fun, as you say. And don't forget, on Wednesday, Steve Taylor's in here dropping his knowledge, doing a phenomenal job each and every Wednesday. The former All-American Nebraska quarterback. All right. Also, the Carriker Chronicles will be on for an hour on Wednesdays as well. But I got a question for the fine folks at home. And I saw this yesterday. So shout out at Big Red Football on X. They posed a great question because they said Bob Devaney, Tom Osborne, John Cook. I could get down with those three. Here's the question. Who is the fourth coach you would add to Nebraska's Mount Rushmore? So I want to pose that to the text line. Let us know, who would be your fourth coach that you would add to Nebraska's Mount Rushmore of coaches? And Jake, after we hear from the text line, because I don't want you to sway the voters now, okay? I want to hear your thoughts on this as well. And just a reminder, we're talking Heinrich Haarberg today. Loaded show, as always, nothing new. Heinrich Haarberg winning the slam dunk competition at 240 pounds. Think about that. I'm a big man, so that's the first thing I think of. Jeremiah Charles is a beast. He won it last year. He jumped over Matt Rule's head last year. Haarberg won it this year, and Charles was in it again. There's something to be said for a guy who weighs 240 winning a slam dunk competition and the athleticism that shows. Also, Nebraska men's basketball breaks their 6-game losing streak and actually wins for the third time this year against a ranked team. What is going on with this team? We can't win for 6 straight weeks, but we're going to beat ranked teams. What's your early take on that, Jake?
Well, for one, Illinois is a little bit beat up coming in.
No.
Just going to go ahead and throw it out there.
That good. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
So, there is that. But, also, that's been the problem is in basketball, oftentimes with these close games. Now, 4 of those 6 losses were close games. I think 2 of them kind of turned into blowouts. And there's going to be some matchups Nebraska's just not going to be very favorable in. I hate to break it to you, they're not a top 15 team. But they're fighting, hopefully, to get into the top 25. Eventually, and certainly the NCAA tournament. So I think, I don't know if it's this overall change. They've messed with the lineup a little bit. But some of it sometimes during losing streaks, and you'll know this too, is just stay believing in yourself, stay to what you've been working toward, and eventually the riches will come.
Well said, well put. We'll talk more in that a little bit in depth here in a minute. Nebraska women's basketball. They go into West Lafayette. They beat the Purdue Boilermakers. We got a good women's team. We really do. And that's with Natalie Potts getting injured early in the season. I wonder how much even better we could be. But Britt Prince is really starting to step up and shine. She led the Huskers with 23 points, 7 of 15 shooting. last night. 9 of 9 from the free throw strike. I tell all the young kids that I coach in basketball, I'm like, if you don't have to have much at home to get better at basketball. If you can dribble for like 7 to 8 minutes a day, even just 5 minutes a day, and then go shoot free throws for 5 minutes a day. I've never met a good free throw shooter in my life who wasn't a good shooter overall. Not one. I have met some good shooters who aren't great from the free throw line, though. No, it's not common, but I have actually seen that. So if you can shoot free throws and you can make free throws and go 9 for 9, like Britt Prince did, you're going to be a good shooter overall. And then, of course, if you can't dribble, you can't move. So you got to be able to dribble in basketball as well. But the Lady Cornhuskers go into West Lafayette, beat Purdue 74-68. Admittedly, they made this game a little closer than I would have liked to have seen, but ultimately came out on top. They moved to 16-5 on the season, 7-3 in conference, and they've won a whole lot of games lately as well. But before we dive into all that, again, so much to talk about. Nebraska actually has a gigantic recruiting weekend this weekend in football. All right. 4-star offensive lineman Kevin Obat, number 11 offensive tackle in the country. All right. Number 1 recruit in his state, 116th nationally is going to be in town. Another offensive lineman. All right. 16th ranked tackle in the country. 5th overall recruit in the state of Illinois, Claude Mapoma. All right. 183 overall nationally, ranked as a player. So a couple of top 200 players right there. So it's a big weekend. You've got tight end Lincoln Watkins, 3-star, top 400 player, number 21st ranked tight end in the country. Linebacker Kason Thomas out of Iowa here. Oh, I'd love to steal some guys from Iowa just for the fun of it. All right, you got Kason Thomas. Let me see, another linebacker here, and then some guy named Dayton Raiola that we've never heard of. He seems to be maybe halfway decent. What are your thoughts on Dayton, by the way? Because there's been so much talk on Dylan, and obviously there's a family pipeline with Dominic, Donovan, Dylan. Now Dayton is committed to Nebraska, been committed for a while. I've seen videos out there of him from like 2-3 years ago where he's working with the quarterback's coach, and in between goes, "Go Big Red." So that's exciting. But what are your early thoughts on Dayton, Jay? Because you don't hear a lot about Dayton. He's committed. He's coming. People are excited. He's right now, the graphic I'm looking at has 3 corns. That must mean 3 stars. Everyone else has a star except for him. I think it's because he's committed to us, and this is a Nebraska account. All right, but 3 corn, 3 stars, quarterback, and one of the better players in the country. I don't know if there's quite the same hype as there was around Dylan, but that's okay. But what are your thoughts on Dayton at this early point and this big recruiting weekend? A couple of big-time offensive tackles coming into town, a bunch of other good players for the Nebraska football program. What are your thoughts on Dayton and this big recruiting weekend, Jake?
Well, yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, like you said, the lineage that Dayton comes from, and it'd be awesome, a cool story to see that the torch get passed to the younger brother at some point. He is not among the top-ranked quarterbacks in his class. I think the other interest or offers that he has are from App State and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So that's could kind of that's partially why you don't see the big fanfare around him. But he did get an invite to the Polynesian Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, and then the other thing is too, like you said, for this weekend, just peer recruiting. If you can get a quarterback in the class early to peer recruit,
mm-hmm.
I mean that's got to go a long way.
I agree with all that. And we got to get, some offensive tackles. I've been talking about through the portal. It'd be great if we could bring them in. There are going to be contracts. There is going to be revenue sharing. Guys will not be bouncing around like ping pong balls as much in the future of college football once things settle down a little bit. And it may ultimately take a few years because you got to get all these conference commissioners on the same page. There isn't one person in charge like there should be. As much as you might dislike Roger Goodell, because I dislike him a lot, he does a phenomenal job overall doing what's best for the NFL. There's nobody like that in college football. So there's going to be some parameters that come. I know they're coming. Okay, and some guys are already signing contracts, by the way, players. So they can't just bounce around like a ping pong ball. But to ultimately get to where we need to be to get all these guys on the same page, you don't care about the overall sport of college football. They care about their individual conference. May take a while. All right, but what are some of the responses we've gotten as far as the 4th coach that should be on the Mount Rushmore of Nebraska all sports coaching Mount Rushmore? The first 3 on there, I'm not going to argue with any of these, are Bob Devaney, Tom Osborne, John Cook. Who would be number 4? What are people saying there, Jake?
We've got plenty of Plenty of ideas here.
Oh, boy.
5022
That sounds
says,
interesting.
says Bo. Bo Pelini.
Wow. Okay. All right.
We've got a couple votes in here for Coach Manning.
Ooh, I like that.
Not a specific name, but somebody just types in bowling coach. Can you be on the Mount Rushmore if we don't know your name?
I don't really think that's on him. With all due respect, I love the bowl. I'm not very good at it. But with all due respect, I think it just doesn't get the same coverage, which isn't really his fault. It doesn't diminish him and how good he is as a coach. Again, over time, Nebraska bowling has 11 national championships. That's insanity. So I think it's more about the lack of coverage for that particular sport than it is, whether he should be in the conversation or not.
Well, and we did have somebody chime in with Bill Straub, the women's bowling coach. So they got his name out there. There's also a couple other votes for Coach Manning. We have Dave Van Horn nominated, Rhonda Ravel nominated here. Bo Pelini's cat,
Oh,
which
wow.
I don't think is going to
Now we're having fun. Now we're having fun.
And actually, let's see, who's this? I forgot where the name went. Oh, Timmy V actually nominates Terry Pettit.
So and to be clear, everyone that was mentioned and Terry's going to join us at 12:30. Just a reminder, former Nebraska volleyball coach. Okay. When I played the press conference yesterday, when Jake played it, when Cook was announced, Terry Pettit, you couldn't see the video because we just played the audio here, but the video, Terry Pettit was sitting right there. And John Cook even talked about how he was handed a program that was in a great spot. Well, that was Terry Pettit. So he's going to join us at 12:30, give his thoughts on John Cook, Danny Busboom, because Cook wanted to hand it off to the next coach, which he said, he's pretty excited that it's a former player and it's Danny Busboom, but he wanted to hand off the program where it was at its peak, or he felt like it was in a really good spot, to the next coach, which he has obviously done. So the top three that popped into my mind were Mark Manning, Bill Straub, and Terry Pettit. And with all due respect to everyone else who's ever coached here, there's an argument to be made for a lot of other coaches as well. But those were the top three that popped into my head. I'll be honest with you, I had a really hard time narrowing it down. Part of me went with Bill Straub, just the peer national championships. And to me, they just don't get the coverage. But you can make an argument for Pettit, who really built up Nebraska volleyball, kind of like Bob Devaney. Bob Devaney is in this conversation because he's the one who really built up Nebraska football. You can make an argument for Pettit. And then Cook kept it going, and much like Osborne, took it to the next level. Like Terry Pettit, Bob Devaney. Tom Osborne, John Cook. I just see so many parallels, it's insane. We have not yet found our next Danny Busboom in football. Hopefully it's Mr. Good Sir Matt Rule, okay? I mean, I've sat here and I've interviewed Mark Manning several times. I love bringing him on. He's a phenomenal coach. I feel like, wrestling doesn't get the coverage it should either, but I love Takedown Tuesdays here on the Ticket because of that. You can hear from Mark Manning. You can hear from the wrestlers that are currently wrestling for the University of Nebraska. So Pettit, Straub, Manning. So we don't get to let ourselves off that easy. So I'm going to force you to pick one, Jake. I'm going to force myself to pick one. And honestly, you could flip a coin 15 different times and get 15 different answers. I'm going to go with Bill Straub, just the amount of national championships. I look at Bill Russell. Everyone talks about all these great basketball players and who's the GOAT. Jordan, LeBron, Bird, Magic, Shaq, Hakeem, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, by the way, is number 2 on my list. Bill Russell isn't brought up enough. Everyone's like, oh, Jordan has 6. Jordan has 6. Well, Robert Horry has 7 if we're just going to go straight by championships. By the way, Bill Russell has 11. And he's the reason Wilt Chamberlain does not have more. And Wilt Chamberlain's stats are just astronomically ridiculous. Okay. But I do think championships has to factor in just a little bit. And we are splitting hairs, and then splitting that hair again. I'm just going to give the nod to Bill Straub. But if you want to say Mark Manning, Terry Pettit, I'm not going to argue with you, Jake. Who you got?
Yeah, those are good ones. And I do think, some other thoughts in here. I don't know if I said Danny Nee was texted in.
It's a good one.
Maybe for Nebraska basketball, that'd probably be a top pick. Frank Solich nominated as well.
My old coach, not going to hate it.
Went to a championship game, so I can't downplay that too much. If I had to, I'd probably go with Dave Van Horn. I feel like he jump started the Nebraska baseball program to a whole new level. That's
a good point. There's some good options. All right, let me know what the folks think. All right, Bo Pelini's cat. That's good quality stuff right there, Jake. All right.
And that's what we're going to miss with the spring game, you remember? Yeah. Well, they'll still probably have a chance to bring the cat out.
I don't think they're going to bring the cat out, but that'd be awesome. Maybe I would be a little less, I'm not upset, disappointed that there's not going to be a typical spring game. We still don't know what it's going to look like. It still could be something that fans look forward to, or it could not be. I'm going to give it a chance. I kind of said why I think we should have a spring game, why it could work, why you could protect players, how you could do it yesterday. So I'm not going to do all that again. You can check it out on yesterday's show if you want to. That all being said, I'm going to give it a chance and an opportunity, whatever they come up with. I know they're still figuring it out, and we'll see if it works. Like, I'll tell you right now, if they change something about the Pro Bowl, I wouldn't hate it. The Pro Bowl sucks right now. And I'm not going to get mad at those guys. I'm going to go down to Hawaii, and I'm going to go 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then I'm going to tear my ACL in a Pro Bowl. I get it. So maybe we come up with, and I know there's a different format now, okay? And I know it's ever evolving, to be clear. I'm aware of that. I want to see what happens with this spring game, what they end up doing. Maybe we like it better, maybe we don't. But I do want to give it a chance. All right, if there's any other responses there you think I should address, let me know, Jake. All right, Heinrich Haarberg winning the slam dunk competition last night. Now, when you think about Jeremiah Charles, who won it last year, I mean, this is a guy, I believe he went out in the spring and did long jump. Didn't he do long jump for the track team?
That sounds right, yeah.
We're going to go with that sounds right. That's why our goal is to be smarter than the average dumb guy on this show. All right, and I'm pretty sure that's accurate. So my point is, this is a guy who at a major Big Ten school competed in a track event that is all about explosiveness, which is why he jumped over Matt Rule last year, which is why he won the slam dunk competition. And so it's nothing but props to Charles. And by the way, everybody else who was in the competition as well. It's highly entertaining. I found it way more entertaining than I found the NBA slam dunk competition to be for a very long time. Nate Robinson, I thought was highly entertaining. He won it 3 times, the NBA slam dunk competition. I'm a little bit biased. He grew up in the state of Washington. We played against each other in the Washington high school all-star game after football season was over. I don't think I've ever met somebody in my life who talks more trash, and more trash. And then before the game in the end zone, he's like doing backflips with his helmet and full pads on, like in their end zone while I'm watching, because he was on the other team warm up. And I'm just like, well, that's not normal. And then you see him win the slam dunk competition 3 times. You're like, oh, well, that makes a little bit more sense. And that tracks now. All right, let's dive into Nebraska men's basketball real quick. By the way, there has been some feedback on Tommy Hill. There's been some feedback on Thomas Fedoni. Some of the guys are at the Senior Bowl. I've actually got a couple of interesting thoughts on the Senior Bowl, and maybe a trivia question for Jake as well down the road in the show pertaining to the Senior Bowl in Nebraska. But let's start right off the top. Nebraska men's basketball. All right. They win 80-74 versus number 18 Illinois. They have now beaten 3 ranked teams this year, the most in a season since 2013. 8 wins in its last 17 games. We're going to ignore some of the games and the streaks that happened in the middle there. All right, the most since March 2022. Nebraska went 0-17 in the 17 games versus ranked teams prior to February of 2019. So there is some hope for the Huskers here to be had. All right, and Bryce Williams had an exponentially good game. 27 points, his 9th 20-point game of the season, 25th of his career. He scored 8 of his 10 points in overtime, and he personally outscored Illinois by himself in overtime, 8-4. All right, let me see. Nebraska never actually trailed last night. They led for 39-30 of the game and never actually trailed. This is Fred Hoiberg. He earned his 31st career victory over a ranked team throughout his career as a head coach. Nebraska won the turnover battle. I would love it if this translated into football more often as well, but Nebraska only committed 6 turnovers in the game, including just 1 in the first half and 0 in the first 15 minutes and 26 seconds of the game. However, they forced 17 Illinois turnovers, which marked the second most turnovers by the Illini in the season. Nebraska's +9 in the turnover department is its best in Big Ten play this season and its 3rd best margin of the season overall. Some things, ladies and gentlemen, some things just travel. Turnovers travel. I don't care what level it is. If you win the turnover battle, especially by that much, you're probably going to win the game. I don't care what level it is. I don't care if it's 8-year-olds, 18, or you're in the pros. I don't care what sport it is. I don't know that every sport has turnovers like baseball, but you get my point. Turnovers and winning the turnover battles travels from sport to sport, age to age, level to level. Nebraska, when we were 5-1 in football, we were +6 in the turnover department. The second half of the season, there were some struggles. We were -7 down the stretch and ended the season -1. So there's a definite correlation. Nebraska basketball, Nebraska football, etc. We are going to talk more Nebraska women's basketball, of course. All right. Also, a little bit of Senior Bowl talk. See if I can stump Jake. I've had fun doing so lately because he won't change the tiebreaker. I'm just going to keep harassing him until he does. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will be joined by former. Do we actually have 2 more minutes? Am I actually going to break early for once?
You are.
Dude, that never happens. I'm always like 5 minutes late. You're like doing the thing with the hands to tell me to break. All right. Let's do this then. Nebraska women's basketball. Okay. Going to West Lafayette. Again, the game was a little bit more interesting than you would have liked, but they find a way to win. That's what good teams do. Not every game is going to look glorious and wonderful and be just awesome. Sometimes you got to find a way to win. I was actually coaching my twins basketball team last night. I walked over. The dads were watching the game. Nebraska was actually down by 4. I think it was like 34-30 at that point. So they found a way to come back and win. All right. Britt Prince led the Huskers, 23 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Alexis Markowski, who just keeps marching up the charts of Nebraska women's basketball history when it comes to rebounds and most amount of rebounds. I think she's in the top 3 now all time. But Alexis Markowski added 18 points as well. All right. You dive a little deeper into this game. Nebraska actually lost the shooting battle, so to speak. They shot 44%. Purdue shot 50% from 3-point range. Nebraska only made 15% of their 3-pointers. Purdue made 45%. From the free throw line, both teams were phenomenal. The Huskers made 95% of their free throws. The Boilermakers, 92%. That's amazing. The rebound battle was really neck and neck, 28-29. Purdue had the slight edge. What impressed me was Nebraska's ability when they were struggling to make baskets. I mean, they got significantly outshot. All right, from the 3-point line and outshot a bit just overall field goal shooting percentage-wise, and they still found a way to win on the road in conference. I don't care what the other team's record is. You're not always going to have your A-plus game. You can't be 100% every day because we're all humans. Finding a way to win in a tough situation like that, to me, that's pretty impressive. And this is a team that I don't see any reason can't be in the NCAA tournament. The men have got a lot of work to do. Door's not shut on that. But as far as the women, do you believe they'll be in the NCAA tournament there, Jake?
Yeah, I do. I mean, they now won 6 of 7 games since that 3-game losing streak to top 25 opponents. But that's when people started to fear, right? I mean, you got blown out by UCLA. Everybody's getting blown out by UCLA, getting blown out by USC. Everybody's getting blown out by USC. But yep. Yeah, so I mean, it's similar to the Nebraska men's basketball. Like I said earlier, there's going to be some matchup. There's going to be, some top end talent in college basketball. That's going to be hard to keep up with. But as far as making the tournament and going for the top 25 type of situation, they're well on their way.
I should mention that my former teammate, there was 3 of us that were captains my senior year: Zach Taylor, Brandon Rigoni, and Zach Taylor. All right, the Cincinnati Bengals head coach was in attendance last night, taking in some Nebraska basketball as well. It's good to see the former Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year come back. He usually catches about 1 Nebraska basketball game a year, so it's cool to see him come back when he's got some downtime in the offseason. Hopefully this time next year, he's a little bit more busy and getting ready for a game 2 Sundays from now as well. But in the meantime, it's always good to see him. All right, don't go anywhere. Terry Pettit joins us after the break, and we'll be right back.
If you're sick of catering from the same places every month, it's time to switch things up. Mulberry Barbecue is perfect for business lunches and dinners, family gatherings, holiday parties, wedding receptions, rehearsal dinners, and so much more. Delivery and full service options are available, and they can cater for anything from 10 people to 500 people. Call them at 402-937-7114 to hear their menu options and get your catering booked today. Mulberry Barbecue, located at 11th and Cornhusker Highway.
Sports Show!
The 56th Annual Boat Sport and Travel Show is bigger and better than ever. January 31st to February 2nd at the Sand Hills Global Event Center in Lincoln. Don't miss it.
Sports Show!
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstorats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Cobble Chevrolet GMC, and we wanted to give a special shout out to all of our great customers, thanking you all for a record-setting year in 2024. Now let's get the new year rolling with some big savings. Right now at Cobble, we have some of the biggest discounts in the area with over $12,000 off list price or 0% APR on select new models. So stop on in the dealership or hit us up online at cobblecars.com to get true low country overhead in action. $12,000 off list or 0% APR right now at Cobble. So please stop on in or visit us at cobblecars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hello. Thank you.
Angela, we have to break up.
But why?
Because you're a robot and I'm just a guy trying to get better internet.
It's Ella Fiber, isn't it? I always knew you wanted faster speeds. My contract isn't good enough for you.
Face it, Angela, they let me talk to real people.
Press 4 to break my heart. Oh wait, you already did.
Visit allofiber.com to switch today.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see lots of sunshine, and it will be breezy with an afternoon high near 51. Tonight, mainly clear skies and light winds with a low around 29. And tomorrow, we'll see increasing clouds throughout the day, and it will be breezy with a high near 53. I'm meteorologist Kyle Flecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket is your place for English Premier League soccer. On Saturday, Nottingham Forest plays Brighton at 6:30 a.m., followed by Newcastle versus Fulham at 9 a.m. To cap off the Saturday action, Wolves plays Aston Villa at 11:30 a.m. On Sunday, Man United plays Crystal Palace at 8 a.m., followed by Arsenal versus Man City at 10:30 a.m. You can find all this and more at McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket, your place for English Premier League soccer located at 8th and P.
What's going on, fans? This is Lexi Rodriguez, four-time All-American at Nebraska and now proud member of Omaha's newest professional team, Love Omaha Volleyball. League One Volleyball is bringing the heat this year. Don't miss your chance to see Olympians, national players, and national champions right here in Omaha from now through April. We can't wait to see you cheering us on in the stands. Visit lovboma.com to buy single match tickets to see me and Love Omaha Volleyball in action this season. Go Big Green!
The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
This is the Adam Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Adam Carriker Show. Segment 2 brought to you by our good friends at Mulberry Barbecue. 11th and Cornhusker open Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Try their burn-end sandwich, a brisket burrito, barbecue nachos, a full slab of ribs, half-smoked chicken, and much, much more. Get incredible sides and get fueled for your lunch today or make dinner plans at Mulberry Barbecue by Single Barrel, located at 11th and Cornhusker. So a couple of texts came through during the break. I went to the bathroom and I did wash my hands, unlike some people we've talked about on the show in the past. But Nebraska Adam, who are some of the guys we should specifically keep an eye on during this recruiting weekend? All right, 4-star wide receiver, Jabin Brady. I don't even know if I mentioned him in the first segment. And elite offensive tackle, Kevin Obat, as well. And I thought I would mention this before we bring on our special guest here. Haarberg's favorite dunk. Somebody asked me, what was your favorite dunk? I was like, my favorite was the one where he tossed it off the backboard, caught it, and did a windmill. That's pretty impressive, especially for a guy of his size, in my humble opinion. All right, now it's time to bring on our special guest at this point. This man was a 2-time National Coach of the Year, 9-time Conference Coach of the Year, University of Nebraska Hall of Fame, a national champion as well, Mr. Terry Pettit. How you doing, my friend?
Hello, Adam. How are you?
Life is good. Life is glorious. Lots to talk about when it comes to volleyball. I want to get your initial reactions to a couple of things. But when you found out John Cook was retiring, because you were there. You were the guy that kind of handed the baton to him. You were there, that introductory press conference. And now 25 years later, it's come full circle. He's retiring. What were your thoughts when you heard the news?
In some ways surprising, in some ways not. I thought he would go, I think maybe it was last season, he signed a 5-year contract. And, you know, he talked so much about how he enjoyed coaching this particular group. So I thought he would probably go one more year with this group. But I understand, you know, when you reach a tipping point, and my understanding is everything just came together in the last week, that there was no discussion prior to this last week. My situation was different because I made the decision a year before I retired when I brought John in as the associate head coach. And I pretty much grieved that whole season. Fans wouldn't have known it, and the team wouldn't have known it. But it was set in motion. And so when we had the press conference, John was, with me stepping down, John was seated right next to me. Now that'll happen next week for Danny. But I don't know that Nebraska or Louisville could have handled this any better. It kind of sets them apart, or the University of Nebraska apart, from how most institutions handle things like this. And, you know, when I came to Nebraska, I was a junior college coach and pretty inexperienced. And John had been a successful coach, but had never been to a Final Four. Danny's been to 3 Final Fours and competed in 2 national championships. Mm-hmm. So she's much more experienced than either of us were when we took over.
So talk to me, because some of the first questions I immediately got. Well, let's go to Danny before I get to some of the assistant coaches and players and whatnot. So you started to allude to Danny. Obviously, she's had high success. I talked about this before, but Louisville actually had a losing record, 12-18 the year before they got there. Never been a number 1 seed. Since then, she's won 3 ACC Coach of the Year awards. They won 4 straight ACC championships, as you mentioned. Competed for a couple of national titles, 3 Final Fours, hosted the Final Four this past year, which I know had to have a ton of pressure. Like, hey, we're hosting. You guys better make it here. Okay, talk to me about what you see from Danny, what you like, and what Husker fans can expect from her potentially. Well, not potentially, but as Nebraska's next volleyball coach.
She was in camp my last year as a head coach, and she was a junior high kid at the time. And I remember Janet Cruz asked me to come down to her court. Janet was coaching the court on the last day and said, watch this kid. And so camp ended, and I went up to her and I said, hey, you're going to come here someday and you're going to be a star. And that didn't have anything to do with her skills or even with her athleticism, but just how she carried herself. I'm so impressed with her. She has, you know, what we refer to as emotional intelligence. Her strongest talent probably is how she relates to her players. And nowadays that's even more important than ever before because of the portal and NIL. Your roster's changing each year. You have to have that talent. She also is, because she's been at a major program, as you know, it's not just what happens in practice. You have to be able to go out and woo the fan base and and woo donors and woo the press, and she'll do all those things at an extraordinary level. I really like her posture during a game. When you look at her facial expression, it's almost like a kid in a candy store. Like she's just very joyful about what's happening. So that, nothing's guaranteed. We've seen coaches come in other sports that we thought were no-brainers, but I would be as sure as you can possibly be that she will have an extraordinary career at Nebraska. She's a wonderful person.
So I am curious actually about, because you mentioned, she was in junior high. So you saw her when she was younger, when she was a player. Later on, 4-year starter for John Cook, co-Big 12 Libero of the Year, ultimately won a national title on that team. It was Sarah Paven, Jordan Larson. What a loaded team, Danny Busboom. Okay, but talk to me, as you were watching Nebraska and you were watching Danny Busboom as a player, what were your thoughts as you watched her play for Nebraska?
Well, somebody alluded to this in a YouTube video or a podcast yesterday. Her first 3 years, she was the setter, and then John called her in and told her that he wanted her to move to libero. They'd run a 6-2 in Danny's junior year, and he didn't see her for 3 days, and he called her mom, and she shows up at the office with a long written letter. She'd probably had a chance to reflect and said she'd do everything possible to make the team successful. She's always got it. I mean, she's we can teach certain aspects of leadership, but some of them come naturally to people. She's a natural leader. I think the person that was most important for her to keep on the staff was probably Lindsey Peterson, the director of operations. But she's also keeping Jalen and Kelly Hunter. And, those are, it's never going to be easy, but she'll have that both she and the team will have, are not going to have any extra interference that you normally see when a coach comes in. She knows who these players are. She knows more than if you haven't been a part of the Nebraska volleyball, you really can't even imagine it. We see these pro players come in Omaha, and they're just overwhelmed by the interest and the support from the university and the state. So it's certainly. The athletic director deserves credit for how he handled it. Louisville deserves credit. John, everybody did it as well as you could possibly do it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's interesting because I heard about that podcast as well, going from changing up their formation, and Cook asked her to go to libero. She may not have had the friendliest reaction ever, ultimately came around and then becomes the Big 12 Libero of the Year. That's a pretty cool story, pretty unique story. It kind of shows her fieriness, yet her willingness to put the team first ultimately in the end as well. And that's another thing I want to ask you about was the assistant coaches and the people that you alluded to. They're coming back. I mean, Jalen Ray's, he's been with us since 2018, which makes him the second longest serving assistant coach in Nebraska volleyball history, only trailing Kathy Noth from 1988 to 1998. So how important is it to retain so many coaches and keep that continuity?
If you look over from 2018 through 2025, Nebraska has had over that span, Nebraska has had, in terms of ratings, better recruiting classes than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even sure it's close. And that's Jalen, because Jalen has been actively involved in coaching U19 teams for USA Volleyball. And because he's so likable and so welcoming, people are first attracted to Nebraska through Jalen. So, that's critical. And then Kelly, led a team to 2 national championships. I always felt it was it was vital to have somebody whose life was changed because of the program. And that's what Kathy Noth was, and Nikki Stricker and Val Novak for me, and Jordan Larson and Hunter for John. So it doesn't always work out that way, but the fact that Danny's associate head coach could step into that head coaching role at Louisville, because had that not happened, I'm sure she would have wanted to bring him to Nebraska. And there's still a coaching position open, and I have no idea what she'll be looking for in that other coaching position. But but assuming everybody stays healthy, and the fact that after the announcement, the team asked to be by themselves for a few minutes, and they just committed to make this as interference free as possible for Danny. That doesn't happen everywhere. You recall when the coach that was the football coach following Frank, Bo Pelini,
Mm-hmm.
when he left, it was kind of turmoil. But that isn't the case here, and these days that's very unusual. So I'm very proud of John and how he handled it. This doesn't work if he hasn't set things up to be handed off in that way.
So that's actually that's perfect, because my very next question was, I've been told pretty much everyone's coming back. Harper Murray, the players have decided to come back. In this day and age of NIL transfer portal, there's going to be normal people that come and go. It's not as drastic as football because there's not as many people on a volleyball team. But even someone like Ali Sheck, who had committed, was going to, transferring from Baylor. She visited schools like Kansas and Oregon and everything else. Cook said he called her and she was crying after the announcement of his retirement, despite everything she said, and I quote, "She's good," end quote. So she's still coming. It seems like everyone's staying. I mean, it seems kind of insanely obvious to say that's a big deal, but just how big of a deal is that?
Well, Adam, I don't know if you heard the other part of that story. She visits Kansas, and Ray Bouchard retires the next day. She visits Oregon, and he leaves for Kansas the next day.
Oh, that's crazy.
So she made 3 visits, and the head coach changed on the following day. But what is there not to like about Nebraska? I mean, you can't imagine support better anywhere else. So that does not surprise me. Plus, she fills a specific need. There's a tremendous advantage in having a left-handed right side player, because it's much easier for that player to attack the ball when the setter digs the ball and the libero steps up, because the ball is coming to her on her on hand. And I don't know whether Nebraska even has another left-handed player. So she's a very good player. She hit close to 300 in the Big 12. So there would be, and she's got to know Danny Busboom. I mean, everybody knows Danny, and everybody, you can see Danny's countenance when you just watch her. So that doesn't surprise me. Right now, I can understand, given what we're asking of student athletes today, where basically they're training year round. I can understand if you have, after a couple of years, you just see 2 players ahead of you and you're never going to get on the court. If you're competitive, you want to play. What I don't understand are people that have been playing and you're in a really strong program and you just decide to leave, but it's not going to change. None of this is going to change. I would hope that maybe, even something like when you played, I'm assuming you had to sit out a year if you were going to transfer.
Yes.
And even then, you had to meet before a committee at the university athletic department.
Yes.
And, well, that's not coming back either. So whoever adapts the best wins. And Nebraska's showing that it can adapt in this situation. There are only when I look for someone to follow me. Had John not accepted the opportunity to do that, I probably would have coached maybe 2 more years. But I also felt that if he wins a national championship at Wisconsin, why would he come back to Nebraska? Coaches like to do something that hasn't been done there before. And Danny's beloved in Louisville, but I'm sure she also feels she has a better opportunity to compete for national championships at Nebraska. So we may see somebody, as they go through spring ball and it becomes obvious that somebody, an outside hitter, is going to win that position opposite Harper. You might see somebody enter the portal, but we don't have any control over that. All you can do is love them and coach them the best that you can.
Absolutely. I think you make some great points. And with Danny coming back, obviously competing for national titles, I think there's a coming home element to it as well. It was pretty cool to see when Cook was announced last night and Danny was announced in front of the crowd at PBA, the reaction that they got. So that was pretty cool. But hey, Coach Pettit, I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks as always.
Well, thank you, Adam, and good luck. Go Big Red.
All right. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Right now, when you drive by Honda of Lincoln, you'll see more than 200 new Hondas and over 125 pre-owned vehicles. Hi, Charlie Stone here, and with me on the line is Andy Goodyear of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, how does it feel to have so many vehicles in stock again for your customers?
Charlie, it feels amazing to see how excited our customers are. They love the ability to see, test drive, and take immediate delivery of the exact new Honda they're looking for.
Do you have some good offers to talk about?
We sure do, Charlie. We're offering financing as low as 0.9% APR up to 72 months, or great lease rates on every new Honda. It's the perfect time to drive away in the new Honda you've been dreaming of.
How about pre-owned, Andy?
We have over 125 pre-owned and certified pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Just about every make and model with prices starting at under $10,000.
Maybe it's time you experience the best, the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
What's the radon level at your home? Don't know? Find out with a call to Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. Make sure your home is safe with a radon check from Bryant. If you've already tested, ask Bryant for a free estimate for mitigation. Once completed, you'll get a report showing how much safer your home is. When it comes to radon, call Bryant 467-1111 for testing and mitigation. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road.
Landmark Implement, your John Deere dealer, invites you to their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney on February 5th and 6th. This hands-on event offers expert training on John Deere and Hagie sprayers, covering topics such as machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and exact apply technology. New this year, classes on autonomy preparation, see and spray, and variable rate operation. Don't miss this opportunity. February 5th and 6th in Kearney. Learn more at landmarkimp.com/events.
Hey volleyball fans, this is Laura Dijkema, National Player of the Netherlands, and now the setter on Omaha's newest professional team, Love Omaha Volleyball. League volleyball is bringing the heat this year. Don't miss your chance to see Olympians, national players, and national champions right here in Omaha from now through April. We can't wait to see you cheering for us in the stands. Visit lovboma.com to buy single match tickets to see me and Love Omaha volleyball in action. Go Big Green!
Midwest Bank is proud to be your local community bank right here in Lincoln. This is Travis with Midwest Bank, now with 2 branches conveniently serving Lincoln and 8 other locations across Nebraska. We're here to help you with any of your needs. From opening a checking account to buying a home or financing your business, our staff is here for you. Stop in and you might see Shin Daddy himself. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Learn more at midwest.bank, member FDIC.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl, Jordan, with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Let's talk commitment. And what better way to do that than with some shiny, sparkly jewelry? Am I right? Now, I'm not suggesting you have to rush, but if you're considering making a significant move, do your planning. We offer financing and payment plans. Lock down your selection with confidence. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
Hello.
Angela, we have to break up
But why?
because you're a robot and I'm just a guy trying to get better internet.
It's Aloe Fiber, isn't it? I always knew you wanted faster speeds. My contract isn't good enough for you.
Face it, Angela, they let me talk to real people.
Press 4 to break my heart. Oh wait, you already did.
Visit aloefiber.com to switch today.
Nebraska Veterans Aid is here for veterans and dependents facing unforeseen financial emergencies. Get assistance with food, fuel, shelter, clothing, transportation, and even funeral and medical expenses. If you're a veteran facing a financial emergency, apply for Nebraska Veterans Aid through your county veteran service officer. Learn more at veterans.nebraska.gov/NVA. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hello, I am Ayanna Blake, and welcome to Mind Your Mind. My girlfriend recently added a sign to her beauty shop that reads, "Life is beautiful." I know many may not see life the same way. Some may view it as hard, depressing, grievous, lonely, or even cruel. But does it have to be? I can't help but hear the reggae classic by Friday and Colonel Mike, "Life is what you make it." As I looked at her newly decorated wall with the words, "Life is beautiful," she looked at me and said, "You have to find the beauty in it. Despite how life has treated us, we must dig deep to find the beauty in it. After all, we are alive and breathing. Why not change your view and see the beauty in it?" I encourage you today to change your perspective. Step back and change the direction of your view. There is beauty in everything if you look close enough. I am Ayanna Blake, reminding you to mind your mind. For more inspiration, connect with me on social media or visit ayannablake.com. Until next time, take care of your mind and keep moving forward on your pathway to wellness.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is the Adam Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Adam Carriker Show. This is the final show. This is the final segment before we go to 2 hours on Monday. If you hadn't heard the news going around the world, the Adam Carriker Show goes to 2 hours on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Twice the fun, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to talk a little bit of Senior Bowl talk, but first I got some trivia for Jake. You got to get 2 of these right.
All right.
There's 3 questions. You got to get at least 2 right.
I'm locked
I
in.
should be a jerk and make you get all 3 because you won't change the tiebreaker, but I'm just a nice guy. What can I say? All right. Who was the last Nebraska tight end to participate in the Senior Bowl, and what year was it?
Participate in the Senior Bowl.
You got to get them both.
Mm.
Because I actually think you'll get the guy. I don't know if you'll get the year, though.
Oh, man.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Austin Allen had a big enough year,
Nope.
I would have thought.
Nope.
No.
You have to give me an official answer. No biting time.
Okay. I know the last tight end drafted was Tracy Wistrom, so I guess that's what I'll go with.
No, Mike McNeil.
Mike McNeil. He moved to wide receiver. That's cheating.
Hey, I looked this up, and this is what the internet told me. The internet is always right. 2009, Mike McNeil. I blame the internet if this is not correct. I'm pretty sure it's right. Tracy Wistrom, was the last Nebraska tight end to be drafted. What year? You know what? I'm going to change this, actually, as I look at this, because I think what year is too easy. What team drafted him?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right. You're 1 out of 2. You got to get this last one. I should conjure up a BS tiebreaker just to be mean to you. But, all right, I'm not going to. Now, he was an all-conference selection for Nebraska. But how many times?
Tracy Wistrom?
Yes.
Let's go with...
Yeah,
and he
4
was
options.
part of that option offense. Yeah, that's right.
4 options.
Wasn't his freshman year.
This isn't when we had 20 COVID seasons. You have 4 options here.
Big fan of his predecessor, Sheldon Jackson, by the way.
Yes,
I'm gonna go with 2.
3.
3. Wow,
You did not get it.
Yeah, I'm not happy
Change the
about it.
tiebreaker.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk a little bit of Senior Bowl here. Still incredibly impressive, though.
Yeah,
incredibly
that is.
impressive. Oh, this is probably something you've seen, and this is not breaking news. Somehow I've missed it 3 straight days in a row, and I saw it during the commercial break. Dylan Gabriel threw a ball 74.9 miles per hour, 75. The NFL Combine record is 62 by Josh Allen and Joe Milton. I bring this up because I was a quarterback and I was a pitcher, and I find that gap impossible to believe. You don't break a throwing miles per hour record by 13 miles an hour. I've seen Gabriel throw, by the way. Good arm, great accuracy. I need confirmation when the NFL Combine rolls around that this actually happened. By the way, there's some high school pitchers who throw a baseball around 75, 80 miles an hour. So if this is true, that's insanity. All right, let's talk about Thomas Fidone and Tommy Hill. All right. Thomas Fidone, this is via a scout that's been made public. At first glance, Fidone looked like a potential block first tight end. But he shut that down quickly. He ran good routes and caught the ball confidently. If practice included live tackling sessions, Fidone would have been a bull in a china shop. He transitioned from receiver to runner quickly while still prepared for contact. So I'm rooting for Fidone. Love the kid. Love the comeback story. I know what it's like to have injuries. I know what it's like to be doubted, et cetera, et cetera. I'm happy to hear that. I was mildly surprised when I saw it. When he caught the ball last year, it took him a tad bit of time to turn upfield and get going. So maybe the knee's just feeling better. I don't know. But what were your thoughts upon hearing that, Jake? And to be clear, I'm very happy about that. But what are your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I think that, you know, he's definitely a guy I hope Husker fans will get more into embracing as a former Husker, because that's what he's going off to the league as, you know, always wanted that dream. But it didn't feel like his stock was at the highest, right? When he left, though he did have another game for 50 yards in the bowl game. Some of his snaps had been taken in. It wasn't, you know, you could see it. It just felt like, especially on those little dump off routes they were trying to get him to go on, there was no turning from, you know, receiver to runner pretty quickly. And so they didn't go anywhere. So that was a little bit surprising. So, I mean, that's all I could say. I was a little bit surprised. I know he's had the athleticism. I know he measured well, and I figured that. But to get good reviews for drills for play on the field, that's good news.
He's a bit of a divisive player amongst fans. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just because of how heavily recruited he was. And then I think the 2 injuries, gave you more time to think, okay, at one time he was above, again, Brock Bowers. And that's another part of it. Brock Bowers went on to become maybe the most successful tight end in college football history. So, I mean, I think it's just the expectation is always going, you know, and if the expectation coming in is for him to be an All-American, and if he comes up short of that, still had a good career, then I think that still lands wrong for some people.
That's a fair point. For me, like, I have no doubt he heard a bunch of things that he probably wasn't thrilled to hear after he had the two knee injuries. And he became insanely motivated, something I can relate to. he came across at times to me angry, which is honestly something I can relate to. When I say the phrase, I didn't come in to Nebraska with a chip on my shoulder, I came in with a forest on my shoulder. So you could say there was some anger in my motivation as well. I think where I was like, I don't know about this, was when he shushed the crowd. You remember that?
I
Caught
do
the touchdown, shushed the crowd. I was like, I'm not a fan of that. To be clear, fan of him, rooting for him. We got about a minute to go. Tommy Hill. Hill became the focal point for the by the way, Nash Hutmaker is basically dominating people at the East-West Shrine Bowl, but Hill became the focal point for the defensive backs during Thursday's session for good and bad, according to what I'm reading here per scout. He received plenty of attention for a tipped interception in the end zone where he could keep both feet in the field of play. Technically, LSU tight end Mason Taylor should have come down with the pass from quarterback Dylan Gabriel. I wonder if that pass was 75 miles an hour. Still, Hill made the play on the ball when the opportunity arose. Insane athleticism. Later in the practice, however, particularly in the compete portion where the day's top performers are highlighted by their respective coaches, Hill really struggled by getting beat on 3 straight reps. His week felt like it was all or nothing when it came to the specific contribution. So that is per an NFL scout that made his thoughts public. It's kind of apropos for what I thought. He's a first-round talent. Is the consistent nature of competition there with him? I don't think it was. Hopefully he can discover that and find that. Not everybody can. Sometimes when you get to the league and you realize, hey, either I'm going to play well or I'm done with football, sometimes that turns guys around. Hopefully he can find that sooner rather than later. All right, Jake, you have a glorious weekend. I want you to dream sweet dreams of seeing me for 2 hours a day next week. Deal?
All right, I'll start on it tonight.
I will not do the same, but I look forward to it anyways. Until next time, go Big Red Nose. Remember to throw the bone.
McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket is your place for English Premier League soccer. On Saturday, Nottingham Forest plays